कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमो पङ्कजनाभाय नमो पङ्कजमालिने नमो पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते भगवान्। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनन्तकोटिवैष्णववृन्द की जय, जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अपने अपने गुरुदेव की जय, समझ प्रसंग महाराज की जय। हरे कृष्णा। Is my speed okay? What I spoke in the morning? Was I speaking fast? It's okay, it's comfortable. I was told that most of you understand Tamil, right? But I can't speak Tamil. They are translating. அடுத்த வருஷம் வைஷ்ணவ ரிட்ரீட் நான் தெலுங்கு பேசுறேன். Give me some time. So, how many of you here are connected to ISKCON for maybe like 30 years? That is what I was telling, because when I speak at the right time, if they're not laughing, means they don't understand what I'm speaking. So I was wondering whether they're actually understanding or not what I'm speaking. At least you told me in the beginning of the class, I'm happy. So I speak a little bit more slow. Because I know what's my weakness. I speak very fast. So that's why I keep asking you that, am I going fast? Am I going fast? You know, when Guru Maharaj first came to Visakhapatnam, I don't know Telugu. I'm a Gujarati. And a little bit of Telugu because of I studied in Hyderabad, schooling, so picked up from friends a little bit. And we were in the US, in Miami, and 1999, we got a message from Guru Maharaj. It's resounding, somebody is there. A message from Guru Maharaj that you can come to Visakhapatnam and start a center here, because some other people who have against ISKCON have started a center here, so a parallel center from you would be nice. We don't know anybody, we don't know nothing. We packed our bags, took a flight from Miami to New York to Delhi, landed there, took up the luggage, we bought a second-hand car, and we don't know where is Visakhapatnam, we never heard about this place. So we went to the railway station, purchased one map. It's called Trains at a Glance. Behind that they have a big map, you can open and you can see the road map. And that's how we landed in Visakhapatnam. It's a big story, some other day I can tell you the whole story. And then I sent an email to Guru Maharaj saying that, if you come and bless us, it would be so nice. And we had just come. Still gas cylinder connection is not there, phone connection is not there. We just rented the house, just 2 mattresses we purchased. One Radha Madhav photo is there, some Bhagavad Gita is there, nothing absolutely. And the reply comes from Guru Maharaj, okay, I'm coming. At that time I realized how we can be so much hypocrite. I wrote such a beautiful mail, if you come and bless. But when he actually said he'll come, I was like, what? He'll come? How will I arrange everything? I need a bed, I need a sofa, I need an internet connection, I need how will I manage? It was all a very big, and we didn't even have the money. We just landed from the US, everything is very new for us. Then my husband said, well anyway, now what can be done? So, no, this is resounding, somebody needs to take care of this. So, actually, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj was supposed to come there with 700 devotees to Visakhapatnam. We don't exist yet in Visakhapatnam. We're not even in the picture because we had just landed, husband and wife. Nobody knows us. No, this has to be taken care. Yeah. So, but they had their yatra planned maybe for last 1 year. They were supposed to, all the 700 devotees are supposed to come and stay in Simhachalam Hill, Nrsimhadev temple. They had made their own arrangements. We have just arrived. It's been just like 4 days or 5 days. We have just arrived. But we don't know what to do. Guru Maharaj is going to come. So, my husband said, now what next? We have to buy a bed. We have to buy something for him. Then immediately he went, see those days in India to get a phone connection. I'm talking about 1999. Get very difficult, you have to bribe them, it takes a lot of time. Now you just show your Aadhaar card, you can get a SIM. Somehow he paid a little bit money, we got the phone connection, now we have to get the bed and sofa, and we didn't want to spend that much money because starting a center on your own, ISKCON doesn't send you money, you have to start with your own personal money, and we want to be very careful how we use our money. Then we went to a shop, we saw there was a bed and all, but very expensive. Then my husband said, forget it, let's go. I said, don't worry, I'm a Gujarati, just let me manage. I will do something. Then I told that shopkeeper, I still remember that shop. In my broken, because if you speak very fluently English, they can't understand. Visakhapatnam only Telugu, nobody understands English. In broken English, I told me, my Guru Maharaj coming from America, very fat. If okay, I buy, otherwise I return. Okay? So all that with my dramatics and all, I don't know what he thought about me. He said, okay, take it. If he doesn't, because I said he's very fat. If it doesn't suit, then you can give it back. So without paying anything, we took one sofa, one bed, and we got it. The sofa was done, bed was done. Now prasadam. Prasadam, I don't know how to cook. I can't cook. I can be doing it maybe some rice or something, but cooking for Guru Maharaj. What to do. Then, my cunning mind, I thought, what is there? Anyway, he will eat with Radhanath Swami Maharaj. So morning when he comes, I cut fruits and give. That I can do. Afternoon, he eats with Radhanath Swami Maharaj. When he eats, I will observe in his plate what he did not eat, that I will pack for the evening. And next day morning, anyway, he is flying back. And Guru Maharaj will never come to know that Nitai Seni does not know how to cook. Mission successful. Everything okay. Now Guru Maharaj is supposed to come. Suddenly I remember Guru Maharaj coming, but it should look like an ISKCON center. Where is the board? ISKCON Visakhapatnam. But those days it's not that easy, no flex printing. Making a board means you get a tin, you weld it, paint it, then you have to write with the paint, ISKCON. I went to one man and all, he said it will take 2 days, madam, because you have to dry it under the sun and all. I said, okay, fine, somehow you do it. So now Guru Maharaj was going to come that day morning, 10 o'clock, he said he'll give delivery of that board, ISKCON Visakhapatnam. I said, okay. So my husband in the morning is going now to pick up Guru Maharaj. I said, I'm not coming because I have to take the delivery of the board. Before Guru Maharaj comes, I'll fix it up. So it looks like an ISKCON center. We had 2 mattresses, one Radha Madan Mohan photo, everything okay. And my husband picked up Guru Maharaj, he came and Guru Maharaj was entering and I was on the table fixing that. And Guru Maharaj already came. He came and then he rolled down the window and he said, Nitai Seni, come down, you may fall. I was thinking in my mind, I'm already fallen, you don't know. I got down, then anyway the board is done and all. Guru Maharaj came with Ganga Prabhu. Ganga Prabhu was Guru Maharaj's secretary. They came, we offered the room and everything, and I said, Guru Maharaj, shall I bring some fruits? He said, yes, yes. So I brought all the nicely different varieties of fruits and all he ate. But then he said, I'll take some rest. After rest, we'll drive to Radhanath Swami Maharaj's place where he was there in Simhachalam. I said, fine, very good, wonderful. He ate the prasadam, he took rest, and by 11:30 something, 11:30, 12 something, we made a move. We went to Simhachalam, had prasadam. My eyes was continuously on Guru Maharaj plate only. I saw he didn't eat dahi vada, he didn't eat that, he didn't, whatever he hadn't taken, I packed up nicely my tiffin. I was very happy, very successful. Then we sat in the car, my husband is driving, Guru Maharaj is in the front, I am in the back. Ganga Prabhu is sitting, my eyes is on the tiffin only, eyes on the tiffin, eyes on Guru Maharaj, eyes on tiffin, eyes on Guru Maharaj. Everything is well. As we are coming near to the center, Guru Maharaj turned back and he asked me, so what's the program in the evening? So I'm supposed to say that there is no program in the evening because we have just come, it's 4 days. I said, Guru Maharaj, hall will be full, Guru Maharaj, hall will be full. And he said, that's nice, very nice. So after I told that, but I don't know what to do. After that, when Guru Maharaj and my husband, everybody got down from the car, I told my husband what to do. He said, only God can help you. I said, that's not fair. We are in this together. He said, no, we are not in this together. Because you spoke that to Guru Maharaj, not me. No, that's not fair. No, what should I do? We are all back and I said, hall will be full. And Guru Maharaj must be waiting for hall to be full. I don't know what to do. I don't know anybody in Visakhapatnam yet. We just came. It's just hardly been a week. So my husband said, I'll take a little bit rest. Guru Maharaj said, he'll take rest. I'm the only person walking up and down. I can't take rest because I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. So I went around that whole lane where we were, the neighborhood area in the afternoon, midsummer, knock everybody's door. They're looking at me. Yes, I'm from ISKCON. My Guru Maharaj came from America. He gave class today evening. You come, our center here. They're looking at me. She doesn't even look like a beggar or something. Looks like a good family. And why is she doing this in the midsummer afternoon, knocking on everybody's door? And they're like, okay, we will come. And I don't know what's going to happen. Now, by the time it was 5:30 in the evening, my heart is beating so hard. Because I said that to Guru Maharaj, hall will be full, will people come, will people come, will people not come? And Ganga Prabhu, he was walking up and down, he said, yes, Mataji, what time you want Guru Maharaj to be, to come down? I'll tell you Prabhu. I'm just looking at the watch, looking at the hall, looking at the watch, looking at the hall. By 6 o'clock, the hall is full. They just came. Everybody came. Then with a lot of style, I went and told Ganga Prabhu, will Guru Maharaj be late? The devotees are waiting in the hall. Then Ganga Prabhu said, yeah, I will wake up Guru Maharaj. And they're waiting. And Guru Maharaj got ready and all, he came. He was very satisfied. He looked around, he kept his danda, he sat there. Then he looked at me and he said, so, will you translate in Telugu? I don't know Telugu. I thought it, and I was a very young girl. I must be maybe 18 years old. I was just 18, a young girl. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I said, I thought in my mind, if they just laugh at the right time, what will Guru Maharaj do? What I translated? They just have to laugh at the right time. I will manage. Something I will manage with a little bit broken Telugu, whatever. And then I said, yes, Guru Maharaj, I will translate. So I said, okay, great. So then Guru Maharaj started speaking. I was praying to the Guru Parampara, praying to Mother Saraswati, may the right words come out. Because, I can understand Telugu, but I can't speak so fluently so as to give a class or translate. And I tell you, somehow, I didn't cheat Guru Maharaj. Everything went so well and people laughed at the right time, And the whole translation was, was nice. And then Guru Maharaj was so pleased. With his danda, he just put, on my head and he said, yeah, everything's wonderful. And next day morning, he had an early morning flight. So anyway, why I remembered this is that, I said, when I see that people were not laughing at the right time, I was thinking I was doing something wrong. Maybe going too fast, and I was speaking too fast. Okay. So let's come back to today's class. We just went somewhere else. Okay, so I was asking, how many of you are maybe connected to ISKCON for 30 years now? 25 years? 20 years? 10 years? 8 years? 5 years? Okay. So what are we trying to do in ISKCON? What are we trying? What's the goal? To understand Krishna? Okay. Yeah, that's good. What else? Huh? To save yourself? Okay, makes sense. What else?
Involved in a devotional service.
Involved in devotional service, okay. What else? To teach Krishna Prema to others, okay.
To please Krishna.
Yeah, to please Krishna. That's the whole point. Whatever activities we are doing, it's to please Krishna. We want to change ourselves because I want to please Krishna. I want to become a version of myself which can please Krishna. We want to love Krishna and we want Krishna to love us. And how can that happen? How will Krishna love us? See, even in a normal setup, usually you become friends with somebody who is a little bit like you. Only then you can become a friend, right? There is a verse in, samana, some kind of a samanata should be there. Samana vyasana. Some kind of, both of you like the same thing, both of you like the same, something should be there, otherwise you can't become friendly. In fact, nowadays, in India also, you go to a party or something, they have a theme party. Everybody has to wear green, everybody comes in black, right? Now we are all planning to be a part of Krishna's party in Goloka Vrindavan, and Krishna also has a dress code. And his dress code is 36 qualities that he wants to see in a devotee. But then, we can be part of Krishna's party which is going on at Goloka Vrindavan. So today, in whatever time we have, another 45 minutes and 1 hour, we'll explore what are those qualities that Krishna expects in us, and that will make us Krishna's favorite devotee. This is what we want. We want to become Krishna's dear. And Krishna, in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, verse number 8 onwards, he tells what he likes in a devotee. And I personally am so much in love with these verses. I've given a special name to these verses. Just like you have the 8 verses you call Shikshashtakam, like we have Guru Ashtakam. I've given a name to these verses called Bhaktashtakam. What does Krishna want in his Bhakta? What does Krishna want in his devotee? This is what is there here from verse number 8 onwards. Verse number 8 verses, total 36 qualities. If you want, you can take out your phones. Chapter 12, Bhagavad Gita. 8 verses number 13 to 20. Verse number 13 to 20. And in that, Krishna gives you 36 qualities that he wants in his devotees. And what I like the beauty is, after every verse he will say, he'll say one word, he'll say one line. Yo mad bhakta same priyaha. Yo mad bhakta same priyaha. That kind of devotee is very dear to me. So it's so beautiful because we all want to become Krishna's dear. And he keeps saying this. Are you like this? Then you can become very dear to me. So these verses start like this. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankara samadukha sukha santushta satatam yogi yatatmam dhrida nishchayaha mayyarpita mano buddhi Yo mad bhakta same priyaha. Yo mad bhakta same priyaha. That kind of devotee is my favorite. So what we can do as I don't know how many we can complete in 1 hour, but as we go on with these verses, you can have a checklist for yourself. What quality among these 36 exists in you already, either in Ichha Rupa, either in Abhyasa Rupa, either in Sthayi Rupa or in Sthira Rupa. That means, to tell it to you in English, sometimes you hear these qualities and you are like, nice, the class was nice, very good, wonderful. Maybe someday I'll have those qualities. That is called Ichha Rupa. You have a desire. Someday I think I should have these qualities, okay? But then there it's end. You don't do anything about it. The class was nice and then we go back Mahaprasada Govinda. But then there are some qualities which are Abhyasa Rupa. Abhyasa Rupa means you are thinking very seriously on them. And they are work in progress. You are actually working on it. You are actually trying your best to get these qualities in you. So one is Ichha Rupa, one is Abhyasa Rupa, and one is Siddha Rupa. You've almost mastered it, but sometimes during unfavorable situations, you go down on that. And then there are some qualities which are Sthira Rupa. No matter what happens, whether favorable or unfavorable condition, you will never give up on them. So this coming 1 hour, you can have your own personal checklist and see among all these 36 qualities, which are your Abhyasa Rupa, which are your Ichcha Rupa, which are your Siddha Rupa, and which are your Sthira Rupa. You always maintain that. So we start with the first quality, Advesha Sarva Bhutanam. Krishna says, I like that devotee who is a Dveshta, a Dvesha. Dvesha means enviousness. But Krishna says, who is my favorite? Who is a Dvesha? Who doesn't have Dvesha on anybody? Who is a non-envious person? But the moment we hear this, the first thing that comes to our mind, I'm not envious of anybody. You know what? But she is envious, and I think this class is good for her. I hope she's hearing it. I hope she's hearing it. Well, that's the general tendency. I'm not envious of anybody. I'm okay, fine. So how do we check whether we are envious of anybody or not? Because enviousness is like a cancer. And cancer, if detected at the first stage, is helpful. After the fourth stage, you can't do anything about it. Right? So how do we know whether I'm envious or not, at what stage it is? So I'll tell you the stages. Just like we have stages of cancer, we have stages of enviousness. The first stage of enviousness is when somebody is praised, somebody else is praised, you like it, you're okay with it, but you don't like it so much. That's okay, fine, you know. A little bit when you go forward, when somebody is praised, the person whom you don't like and envious of, you try to escape the room somehow, somewhere, you know, you don't want to be there when the person is praised. When the cancer goes a little high, when that person is praised, you actually don't like it. That's it. You are very clear about it. Initially you are like, it's okay, I don't like it so much, but now you are very clear that I don't like it when the person is praised. Then, the little bit when it goes further, when that person does something wrong, you become very happy. Because somewhere in your heart you will feel, now people came to know how is she. Till now only I knew. And these people, stupid people, they were glorified. Now they came to know how she is. Now I'm happy, I'm satisfied. Because people came to know about her, something bad. So I celebrate her fall or something like that. I'm very happy. As the cancer progresses, now what happens is not only celebrating her fault, now my mind is in imagination. Like this should happen to her, like that should happen to her, then it will be nice. And then as the cancer comes on the last stage, you actually start planning how to embarrass that person. How should I pull down that person? How should I? Everybody should know. You start planning things. At that stage, cancer becomes incurable. Unless a Vaishnava comes into our life and gives us some good sense, right? So this is how enviousness is. And we don't even realize, because sometimes in the beginning it's on a very, very subtle stage. That's it. You yourself don't realize, but you're uncomfortable when somebody is praised. That's it. You're not very comfortable. You feel something, right? So that's how envious. But Krishna says, see, to become Krishna's favorite devotee, it's very lofty. You're not trying to become, a favorite devotee of somebody in Penang temple. You're trying to become favorite of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And definitely He's going to ask you something very big, not that easy. So He says, Yomad Bhakta Same Priyaha. You have to try to become non-envious. Right? So the problem is, those anarthas which are on the top, we are able to work on them. But then there are many anarthas inside our heart which are very deep inside. We don't even know that they exist. It's like we can see only the iceberg. But if you see the iceberg floating, for sure there is ice just below the ocean. There is ice there. So that means, what we are working out right now is only on the top anarthas. But there is so many things which is deep down. And as we go through all these 36 qualities, we will one by one realize, oh my God, this is all there. How come I never even realized I had all this, right? So yeah, Advesha. Krishna says if you become Adveshta, then you become my favorite devotee. If we are becoming envious of others, we can understand that we are not connected to Krishna just now. We are not connected to Krishna just now. That is why we are envious. If we are connected to Krishna, we can't be envious. Just like, children, if they're on their cell phone, all the time with their earplug, what do you call them? Earbuds? Yeah. They're all the time with the earphones and all. Sometimes you're like, Kanna, Prasadam is ready, Prasadam. Huh? What? Arey Baba, last 10 minutes, but because they're so connected with the earbuds. This is what happens with the devotees who are connected to Krishna. They're not envious of anybody, they're too busy with their divine affair with Krishna. And you're like, oh really? And you see, in our own temple community also, there will be some Matajis who know about everything what happened in the DT kitchen half an hour ago. They just know. And then there will be some Matajis who ask, Krishna Kanhaiya Bhagavan Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladeswara Maharani, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In your own community, you will see that. And then there are some Matajis who will tell them, what happened, this happened, this happened. When did that happen? I don't know, because they're so busy with their service, they're least interested in what's happening in whose life. Because they are so connected to Krishna just now, that they're busy with the earphone which is connected to Krishna. So they're so busy with their morning program, their Bhagavatam, they're not interested in anybody's life, what's happening with who. Right? So we have to try and become non-envious. And how can we become non-envious if we become mothers? If we become mothers. I'll tell you, when you are in a BA class like this, I hear everything is very well organized, but usually when there is class, and if there are ladies, then there are children. And then children will make noise, and all that will go on. And if the children are making noise, you can understand whose children they are. How? Because, if it's that lady's children playing, her attitude will be like this. Children will make noise, what is there? You and me will make noise, or what? It's their age, they will make noise. So you understand, it's her daughter who is making noise. But if it's not their daughter, then there will be, at least that much etiquette and manners should be there. We came from so far to hear class. They should learn to manage their children. That discipline they should teach as a parent, correct? You'll understand, okay, it's not her daughter who is making noise. Correct? Why? Because mother means immediately she'll try to cover up. She'll try to cover up. So we have to try and become mother. Mother means with our fellow devotees, with anybody, instead of pinpointing, try to help them. Today you go to somebody's house. If she is your friend, then the moment you enter the house, you start cleaning, helping her. If you're not her friend, then you will sit as a guest on the sofa. And then when you come out of the house, you'll call other Matajis, I went to her house and how dirty she was and this, and because you're not a friend. If you become a friend, then you wouldn't do that. You would just start picking up and helping. So that's what we need to do. If you want to become non-envious, we are always conscious that everybody is part and parcel of Krishna. And if we love Krishna, we have to love everybody in his family, right? Just like, there was this boy and girl who were having an affair. So they were meeting regularly. Then one day the girl said, it's enough, let's get married. So the boy said, look, as long as we have an affair, you come and meet me, it's okay. But if you want to get married to me, then you have to accept my mother, my father, my sister. I have a mentally retarded sister, I have a handicapped brother, I have an angry mother, I have a short-tempered father. If you accept my family, then you can get married to me. The same thing with Krishna. So Krishna says, you want to have an affair with me, fine, you come to the temple Sunday, go back. You want to marry me? Come to Goloka Vrindavan, then you have to accept my family. And my family is full of different kind of Vaishnavas. Is it not? An angry Vaishnavi, a happy Vaishnavi, a sweet Vaishnavi, all kinds of people. But if we love Krishna, then we love everybody connected to Krishna, right? Even in the modern material world, love me, love my dog, they say, right? If you love somebody, you love everything connected to that person. Her favorite color, her favorite this, her favorite food. If we love Krishna, then we're supposed to love everybody who is connected, every single devotee. Whatever she may be, but she loves Krishna. She chants her name, so I love her too. That should be the equation. You know, she loves Krishna and I love Krishna, so I love her. That's the equation, right? So that way we become Advaita, non-envious. And Krishna says he likes devotees who are non-envious. Now the second word comes, Advaita Sarva Bhutanam. Not one, not two, Sarva Bhutanam. I tell you, I need some water. I tell you, when we got newly married, I was 18, and just before we came to Vishakhapatnam, my husband took me around. We had a Europass. So we went all over before going to US, over the different countries, and it had been almost 1 month. We were traveling. Then one day we were in this train, I think it was somewhere in Zurich, and some Indian couple came in our compartment. And not only Indian, the couple was on their honeymoon and they were Gujaratis. Now I became very happy because I'm a Gujarati. Oh, I started talking to them in Gujarati, then they had bought some khakras, they gave, it was such a happy moment. After that, when we got down in the Zurich station, my husband said, 1 month I'm spending so much money to see that smile on your face, and you see your Guju people and immediately the 360-degree smile. I said, you can't understand, it's my Gujarati. I feel so happy. And then I tell you, as I, went into ISKCON, full-time devotee, slowly, it was no more about Gujarati, about Telugu. Now it's like an ISKCON devotee. You see somebody with a tilak, hey, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna, where are you from? Is it now? That will happen, hey, where are you from? And the moment you see somebody at the airport or station, somebody with a tilak, you become so happy. You feel as if it's your family. Where happened? Where are? Which temple? Who's your Guru Maharaj? What's happening? You're so happy. But Krishna says, that's not what he wants from us. That's not his standard. His standard is not only ISKCON devotees, not only Tilak. His standard is for every living entity. So everybody whom we meet, we should have that kind of excitement because everybody is part and parcel of Krishna. And I'm work in progress. I'm working in that direction. It's no more Gujarati. It's no more ISKCON devotees. Do I get that kind of a smile when I see just about anybody? Because everybody is part and parcel of Krishna. I know what we are discussing here is very lofty, but at least we should know where are we supposed to go. Otherwise, we simply stick here only. I did my 16 hours, I did Mangalarti, I'm a great pure devotee. But we don't even know what standard Krishna wants us to be on. So even if we can't reach there, at least let's know about it. So one day, okay, I'm going to try and become like that. And I'm reminded of Benjamin Franklin. So he wanted to accumulate a lot of good values and qualities. So he came up with some list of 17. He was 18 at that time. So his friend said, are you sure you'll be able to, He said, I'll try. So by the time he was 84, the same friend went and met him. So what's the report? At 18, you had decided that you will try and get all these qualities. So did that happen? Did you get all the qualities? He said, no. But the fact that I was working to get those qualities purified me in so many ways, right? So we may not be able to be there just yet. But the fact that we will try in that direction will make us a better devotee. So Advaita Sarva Bhutana, loving everybody as part and parcel of Krishna. And sometimes I wonder, why can that be difficult? Because, I remember one pastime of Prabhupada when Prabhupada was paying obeisances to a Ratham, Jagannath, Rath Yatra, Ratham. Jagannath was not there, just the Ratham. The devotee said, Prabhupada, Jagannath is not there, they've taken him inside, the Gundicha. Prabhupada said, that's all right, this Ratham is very, very special because it carried Jagannath. These wheels are very special because it carried Jagannath. This rope is very special because it just pulled Jagannath. So that's what Prabhupada said, so that is very special. When I was reading that in the memories of Prabhupada, I had one reflection. Well, something where Krishna was there, not now, he's not there presently, but he was there in the past. That becomes so special for us. Even though Krishna is just now not sitting on that Ratham, but the fact that he sat there in the past makes it so special. Then what about the living beings in whose heart as Paramatma Krishna is there just now? Why can't we pay obeisances to them? What's wrong? Why can't we be nice to them, right? Because it's not that Krishna was there in their heart in the past. Presently, Krishna is there right now in their heart. And still we are reluctant to pay obeisances. We are reluctant to show our respects, right? We are reluctant to love them. So, Advaita Sarva Bhutanam. We want to become Krishna's favorite devotee, then we have to be non-envious. Not only towards devotees, but to every living entity. Advaita Sarva Bhutanam Maitri. The next quality Krishna is asking is Maitri. Friendliness. Friendly towards everybody. A very nice and positive and happy disposition towards everybody. That's very important. It's good to be grave, but grave doesn't mean to always have a constipated face when people look at you. They're like, she's already miserable. What's the point of hearing from her, right? Yeah, if we are happy, you see, you can only give to somebody what you have, right? So if we are happy, then we can give that to others. So yeah, so Maitri, be nice to everybody, be happy with them, happily disposed, positively disposed towards everybody. That's what Krishna is expecting from us. Advaita Sarva Bhutanam Maitra. Be friendly with everybody, be nice with everybody. Don't have the tit for tat philosophy. Tit for tat is only for those who want to stay back in the material world. Krishna's devotees, they never do tit for tat. They're friendly with everybody. Prahlad Maharaj, he never did tit for tat with his father Hiranyakashipu. Dhruva Maharaj never did tit for tat with his mother. He just went to Krishna. Who is she to give me anything anyway? Krishna will give me. Right? Ambarish Maharaj never did a tit for tat with Durvasa Muni. Right? Haridas Thakur never did a tit for tat when he was beaten in 22 marketplace. A devotee doesn't have that attitude. He's always favorably disposed towards everybody. Advaita Sarva Bhuta. In fact, time and again, you can see many verses of Bhagavad Gita. If I start quoting, the whole 1 hour will be over. Nirvairi Sarva Bhuteshu. In the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse number 55. Krishna says that, I will read the verse for you. Mat karma trim mat parmo mat bhakta sangha varjita nirvaira sarva bhuteshu yasa mam iti mandava. You want to go back to Krishna? Krishna says nirvairi. If you are not envious, if you are friendly with everybody, you have no malice towards anybody, then only you can go back to Krishna. Otherwise you can't, right? So they're going to check us, just like when we came here to Malaysia. They frisked us. They checked us. When we go to Goloka Vrindavan, they're going to frisk us on the gate. What kind of bhava we have? Do we have still malice? Are we still smelling? See, when we have enviousness towards others, sometimes we can't understand. If you have a constipation, then your mouth smells bad. But if your mouth smells bad, you can't understand. But the others standing next to you can understand that your mouth is smelling bad. This is what happens. When we have this anartha, sometimes we can't understand. We feel we are fine. The people around us can understand. she's having this, she's having that problem. So we need to somehow clean ourselves, because we will be frisked at the gate of Goloka Vrindavan. And I go to next. Advaita Sarva Bhutana Maitra Karuna. Krishna says, if you want to become my favorite devotee, then you have to have a compassionate heart. Karuna. Be helpful, be kind, be nice to everybody. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. Whatever you can do. We may not be like Shivi Maharaj, can't cut out our flesh and give it just to protect a pigeon. We can't be like Kranti Day, fast for all the citizens, But whatever we can do, if we have the capacity. And if we can't do anything for anybody, at least we can pray for everybody. I remember, in my childhood, my mother used to always teach us, when you go in front of Krishna, never say, Krishna, can you do this for me? She always says in Gujarati, Krishna, badhanu bhalu karo. I don't know how to put it. Krishna, may everybody in this world be happy. May Krishna, because my mother used to tell me, look, if everybody in this world is very happy, you're anyway part of this world, so you'll be happy too. So you don't need to have an exclusive prayer. Just always say, Krishna, let everybody in this world be happy. Right? So, and if we have that kind of attitude, then we can become favorite of Krishna. So, Karuna, a tender heart. Even if you can't do much, at least you can pray. That's easy. You can pray for everybody in this world. Let's go to the next quality. Advaita Sarva Bhutana Maitra Karuna Evacha Nirmama. Krishna says he likes those devotees who are nirmama. What is mama? Mama means sense of proprietorship. me and mine. But Krishna says he likes somebody who is nirmama, who doesn't have a sense of proprietorship, right? It's a little difficult. It's a little difficult, but we can work in that direction. See, a mouse dies in our house, we don't cry. But anything happens to our people, then immediately tears come. So many people died in Corona, we won't cry. But a little obituary somewhere in the newspaper with your father's photo, death anniversary, similarly tears come. We have that deep attachment for something which we think is mine, right? But Krishna says he likes those devotees who are nirmama. Oh, that means I should not have attachment for anybody? No, you should have attachment for everybody. As of now, what is happening is our attachment is only for somebody. But Krishna says keep it for everybody. That is why there is this verse called Vasudeva Kutumbam. For devotee, everybody is a family. He loves everybody equally. And Krishna says that kind of person he likes, right? So we have to become nirmama. Because when we are attached to somebody, then it will cloud our sense of discrimination. We won't be able to see things clearly because we are clouded with that attachment. So we have to give up and have attachment to everybody in this world. That is why you see, in those days, the sadhus, they were reluctant to stay even for more than 3 days in somebody's house because they don't want to have that attachment. In fact, Rupa Goswami says, right, that even in the sadhu is supposed to stay in a householder's house only for that much time which it takes to make a cow. More than that, some attachment will come. Even if you stay under a tree for more than 3 days, that attachment will be there. Forget about it. If you sit here regularly, on the third day somebody else comes, you will say, this is my place. We will get attached to it, right? We get very attached to our pillow, we get to which side of the bed we will sleep. We don't understand, when we hear this now, we think, attachment, I don't have any attachment. I'm okay, I'm fine. But subtly there are so many attachments. We want to be in our comfort zone, we want things to be like this, things to be like that. That is also attachment. Attachment simply doesn't mean, okay, I'm not that, attachment, we are attached to so many things, we are attached. I'm reminded of a story. The king Bharatahari, I don't know if you've heard about him, but he was a very famous king because of his renunciation. He gave up his beautiful wife, he gave up everything, and he was like a mendicant. So one day he went to take bath in the river. So when he has to take bath in the river, he has to remove his clothes. So he removed his clothes and he saw next to the river there is a tree. And the tree there is some nail. Somebody must have put the nail. So he immediately put the clothes on the nail and went to take bath. When he came back, somebody else also had put the clothes on the nail. So he said, why did you put the clothes on this nail when I put it? No, you think it's your father's property or what? This tree belongs to everybody. So they both started arguing. Then there was this one lady who came there for washing clothes. She's a washerwoman. So she immediately looked at both of them are in the dress of a sadhu, in the saffron cloth. And she said, shame on both of you. You're on saffron cloth fighting over the nail on a tree. You don't know how great is our king, Bharatahari. He left his wife, children, everything and became sadhu. And you being sadhu, you're attached to that nail on the tree. Bharatahari, there was no Google images. Bharatahari was like, I didn't tell her that I am only that Bharatahari. Then he felt so guilty, correct? I left my house, I left my everything, now I'm fighting over that nail. I left my whole kingdom, right? So sometimes this happens, as devotees, we may give up so many things. Onion, garlic, tea, coffee, right? We give up our habits of eating non-veg and so many things. But we can't give up our place in Darshanatri, we can't give up our place, right? Certain things like, and we think we feel we are great, detached, right? But detachment means detachment to everything. Even attachment to favorable situation is also detachment. To give up the attachment to favorable situation is also detachment. Like you want things to happen in this way, you want people to hear you, you want people to follow you. That kind of attachment is not good. Just do your duty. If it happens, it's okay. It doesn't happen, what can be done? Now somebody may say, well, that kind of attitude, will it not make us lazy or complacent? Okay, anyway, it's Krishna. No, you become more responsible actually. You become more responsible. Today, you are taking care of your bag. It's your bag. Fine. If I give you my bag, how careful you will be? You will be more careful than your bag. Why? Because it's Mataji's bag. It's Mataji's bag. I have to be careful, right? I had Vrinda this morning holding my laptop and she said, careful, it's Mataji's laptop. So we don't become complacent. If we think it is Krishna's and we love Krishna, we will be more responsible. It is Krishna's. This is Krishna's. So when I say Nirmama, it's not that you become complacent towards your husband or children. Now you serve them more nicely because now it's not because he's your husband that you're serving. You're serving him because he's Krishna's. He's part and parcel of Krishna. He's a devotee. And Krishna, and I love Krishna, so I love everybody connected to Krishna, right? So whether it is husband towards wife or wife towards husband, the only thing that we need to change is, this is Krishna's, but as of now it's under my care. This is Krishna's, this flat belongs to Krishna, but as of now it's under my care. This child is Krishna's, but as of now it's under my care. That is important, otherwise the child cries, you say anyway it's Krishna's, let Krishna take it. No, it is as of now under my care. Krishna has given me that responsibility, so I'll do my best. So you can become Nirmama like that. Nirmama is to understand, okay, the things are there with you, but they're Krishna's under your care now. Then you will have the right attitude towards it. Because we can't become a Vairagi in a sense that I give up everything and now let's start walking towards Vrindavan. We'll have to live in this world with all that we have. But only thing we can change the attitude. It is Krishna's, but under my care. As of now, under my care. Okay, we'll go to the next quality. Advaishta Sarva Bhutana Maitra Karuna Evacha Nirmama Nirahankara. Krishna says, I like that devotee who is Nirahankara. He doesn't have pride, doesn't have ahankara. In English there is a word, right? Pride comes before fall. You smell pride in you or others, you understand the next destination is fall. When pride crops in, then fall is sure to happen. The Krishna says, I like that kind of a devotee who is Nirahankara, who doesn't have ego. See, actually, if you become Nirmama, then, see, it's all connected. If you become Advaishta Sarva Bhutana, that means if you become non-envious of everybody, Advaishta Sarva Bhutana, then automatically you will become Maitri, friendly to everybody. And automatically Karuna will come. Maitra, Karuna Evacha. And then you will become Nirmama. Oh, everything belongs to Krishna. And if you are Nirmama, then there will be no Ahankar because anyway nothing belongs to you. Everything belongs to Krishna's. And where is the Ahankar? Today if I have money, but it's not mine, it's Krishna's. Okay, today somebody is beautiful. It's not yours, it is Krishna's. Somebody is intelligent, but it's not you, it is Krishna's. So where is that? Where is the Ahankara? So if you become Nirmama, then you become Nira Ahankara. When mine is increased, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, then I starts itching. The I will start itching, then only the pride comes. This is mine, then pride comes, right? When we have too much opulences, there are chances for breaking of four regulative principles. We have seen that in the lives of great devotees. What happened to Pandavas? The opulence increased. They got Indraprastha. Khandaprastha became Indraprastha. And what happened? They broke the four rules and regulations. One of it. What was that? Gambling. They did gambling. What happened to Nala, Kuvera and Manigriva? They were Devatas, son of Kuvera. But what happened? When opulence increased, then they also broke a regulative principle. No intoxication. Right? Nala, Kuvera and Manigriva, they broke the rule of no intoxication. Pandavas broke the rule of no gambling. What happened to Ravana? Ravana actually was so well versed in the scriptures. Even today, if you go to Varanasi and ask them, Ravana's commentary on Rig Veda, they'll give you that. He had written commentaries on Vedas. Amazing. But what happened? When opulence increased, and he also broke the rule of illicit sex. He was so interested in other persons' wives. And then there's another person who broke a rule and regulation, who was the father of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Maharaj Dasharatha. What happened? Dasharatha, when opulence increased, Then he became a little careless. One day when he went for hunting, and he just shot his arrow in the air because he thought he was very expert. He can shoot an arrow called Dhwani Bana, Dhwani, with the sound he can understand that who is there, which animal. So he just shot in that direction. But it was not a deer who was drinking the water. It was a Shravan Kumar, a little boy. And then Dashrath ended up killing Shravan Kumar. And then he got cursed by Shravan Kumar's parents that the way today we are suffering in separation of our son, even you will suffer in your separation of your son. So when the opulence increases, there are every chances of breaking of four rules and regulations. So one has to be very careful. Always when the opulence increase, instead of becoming the owners, we should become trustees. We are part of it. This is Krishna's, but as of now it's with me. Just like a cashier in the bank. The cashier in the bank doesn't become very happy when there are too many deposits. Neither he becomes sad when there are withdrawals. Because he knows he's just a cashier in the bank. The money is not coming to him. Neither the money is being taken away from him. So we are simply the instruments of Krishna, handling the cash in Krishna's bank right now. It doesn't belong to us. And if it goes away, then anyway it was Krishna's and Krishna took it away. Right? So that way we can be Nirmama and Nirahankara. Nirmama, Nirahankara. And then comes the other quality. Sama, Dukkha, Sukha. In every situation, to be equipoised, whether happiness or whether you are in some kind of a misery, sad. A devotee who is equipoised, Krishna says he loves that kind of devotee. Now, how is that possible? How can one be equipoised? Definitely when something bad happens, you feel sad. When something nice happens, you feel happy. So how can we be continuously in that consciousness to be equipoised? So yesterday I think here only in this forum I was telling you the story of how everything passes. Even if it is good, it won't stay for long. So don't get too excited. And even if it's bad, don't feel that sad. It can't stay. Just like the waves of the ocean, they come and they go. They cannot stay. So there's one thing if you always want to be equipoised. You always think when you're walking that somebody else is also walking with you. And who is that? It's your past karma. So you always see Mr. Karma is working with you. When people praise you, oh, looks like the good karma has come up. Everybody is so nice to me. And the moment some people are not nice to you, oh, looks like Mr. Bad Karma is around, right? So nothing is your fault. It's just the guy who is walking next to you. Sometimes the good karma, Mr. Good Karma is walking, and sometimes Mr. Bad Karma is walking. So when people start praising you and glorifying, you understand, oh, okay, it's just Mr. Good Karma's job. He's doing a good job now and everybody's just so nice to me. If they're not nice also, it's okay. Because nobody's going to stay permanent, it keeps going, right? So how can we be okay and equal in every situation is by always being conscious about karma. And then sometimes, I can be okay, but this lady is a cause of my misery, that person is a cause of my misery. Actually, in India, when you go to buy saris, usually the Indian culture or the Indian woman, they'll make the salesman take out all the saris. And after 2 hours, she'll say, I didn't like the color, I'll come back. And then they go to the next shop, And I tell you, the salesman, after 2 hours of hard work, he will smile. Okay, madam, please come back. Why? He's not happy with you. He's actually maybe cursing you inside. But he will smile. Why? Because he knows that boss there sitting at the cash counter is looking at him. And it's not you who are going to give his salary, it's the boss who is going to give the salary, and he's observing the salesman behavior. How is he behaving with the customers? And at the end of the month, the boss is going to give the salary. So whenever we deal with people, even if somebody is good to us, bad to us, always remember, they're just customers. My boss is Radha Krishna Kanhaiya, and he is going to give me my salary. So I just have to please him. What I have to do with trying to please her or trying to please him? Because at the end of the month, it's he who is going to give my salary. So we just have to be nice because he's looking at us. He's observing what we are doing, how we are dealing with people around us, right? So that's one way we can be equipoised in every situation. When people are behaving nicely with us, don't get don't go too high, and even when people are not nice, don't feel so sad. In fact, I sometimes feel that it's easy to be equipoised when you are in misery, but it's more difficult to be equipoised when you are happy. There are every chances that you will forget Krishna. You start taking credit for things. It's just because of me, and just because of my hard work, and just because, there are every chances. So it's so difficult. A devotee means he has to be mindful and conscious. We have to have a conscious living. That's why Prabhupada said, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. We need to really work on our consciousness. Where is our consciousness going? Where is it taking us? How conscious we are of our own self, of our own bhavas. What am I doing? What am I thinking? What am I speaking? We have to be so conscious. We can't live an unconscious life like a machine. This happened, that happened. Every moment, check our bhava, check our bhava. Where am I going? What is happening to me? So, Sama, Dukkha, Sukha, Shami. Whenever something happens, understand. There are three things that make things happen. One is the real cause. One is the immediate cause. And one is the ultimate cause. Right? Today I am sitting here on the Vyasasana. And Mataji comes and pushes me. Now, okay, there are three ways to understand this. The immediate cause is, she pushed me. She is responsible. That's the immediate cause. But what is the real cause? Real cause is my previous karma. I must have done something to her. She's just returning back into. And what's the ultimate cause? Krishna must have sanctioned it. Otherwise, she can't do it. Because Krishna is in her heart as Paramatma. That means Krishna has sanctioned it. So whenever something happens to us, always remember there is immediate cause, there is a real cause, and there is an ultimate cause. And when we try and understand and analyze things on this level, then we don't get angry on anybody. We try and understand things, why they're happening, what is it. There may be a bigger picture, and Krishna is the one who's actually moving things around, right? When we are always in that consciousness, then we are safe. Otherwise, we'll start blaming people. So, Sama, Dukkha, Sukha, Shami. We spoke yesterday on this quality of forgiveness, and we spoke about Draupadi, how forgiving she was. So Krishna says, I like that kind of a devotee who is forgiving, who is Shamashila, who is ready to tolerate others, ready to forgive. It may be difficult, but if we think everybody as part and parcel of Krishna, only then it will become easy. See, sometimes when you are eating food, by mistake, your own teeth will bite the tongue. Does it happen? Sometimes you're talking on the phone and how many of you got angry with your teeth and broke it? The teeth is mine and the tongue is mine. What can I do when the teeth bit the tongue? If we have a similar feeling for everybody, she is mine and she is mine and she is mine. What can I do? Everybody is a part and parcel of Krishna, right? The whole point is, all these qualities are possible to get only if we are conscious of Krishna. If we are Krishna conscious, then everything will become easy. Constantly being conscious of Krishna. So, we finished the first verse. Advaishta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna evacha nirmama nirahankara sama dukkha sukha shami. Now comes the next, I don't know how much time we have. How much time we have? Organizers? I'm sorry? Another 15 minutes. We try to complete another one verse. Santushta satatam yogi yatatman dridhanishchaya mayarpita manobuddhi yomat bhakta samepriya. So Krishna says, I like that devotee who is santushta. Santushta means satisfied. Now sometimes we get confused between satisfied and saturation. We are not talking about saturation, we are talking about satisfaction. Right? So what is the difference? Saturated is, after 11th gulab jamun, you will say, I don't want it. Maybe you should give to her also. Let everybody take. That is not satisfaction, that is saturation. Satisfaction is, tomorrow if I give you the gulab jamun also, you will say, no, it's okay, I'm done with it. Forever. But what happens is, our satisfaction comes out of fulfillment of desire. If it's coming out of fulfillment of desire, it's not satisfaction, because it will come back again, and it will come back again, and it will come back again. Satisfaction means it's not that I have everything that I need, but I don't feel the need to have anything anymore. That is satisfaction. So Krishna has given me enough. I think I'm fine with that. That is satisfaction. And Krishna says he likes that kind of devotee. He's satisfied. Not that one who has so many desires. I want this and I want that and I want that and never happy. Why? Because if you have this attitude, even when we go back to Goloka Vrindavan, we will not be happy. We may have everything there, right? We may be in the heaven, having all kinds of entertainment, but Urvashi didn't smile at me this morning. The Apsaras, were wearing a red colored dress. I prefer blue. You'll never be happy. Even if you are in Goloka Vrindavan, even if you are in heaven, right? But a satisfied person is always happy. No matter wherever you put him, he's happy. I'm fine. That's it. I'm always counting his blessings. I got enough. Krishna has given me enough. So Krishna says he liked that kind of a devotee who is satisfied. And that satisfaction has to come not out of fulfillment of desire, but out of knowledge and love for Krishna. I'm satisfied because I know Krishna is my well-wisher and he's given me enough. I'm satisfied because I'm reading scriptures and I understand that this life is temporary and whatever Krishna has given me is fine. When satisfaction comes out of knowledge, understanding and love for Krishna, then it will stay stronger and longer. Otherwise, again you will have a desire. I'm remembering of one pastime of an Alvar. He was, he had a torn blanket. So he was stitching it. And Lord Shiva and Parvati, they just passed by. So when they saw him, and Parvati, they said, why can't we give him darshan? So Shiva says, okay. Now Parvati says, ask him what he wants. So Shiva says, he's a pure devotee, he will not, ask him. Then Shiva said, okay, dear devotee, since you have seen me, I can't go without giving you a boon, please ask me something what you want. What should I ask? He had nothing, absolutely, just a torn blanket which he was stitching. He said, okay, there's one thing I can ask, I'm trying to put the thread under the hole of the needle. Last 1 hour it's not going, maybe you can do that in a minute. He didn't even ask for another blanket, just the needle so that I can stitch it properly. Then Lord Shiva looked at Parvati, now you're satisfied? Let's go. Because you don't indulge with the pure devotees of the Lord. I don't want anything. There's one more story I'm reminded of this. There was this one guy who was doing very good chanting. So Lakshmi Devi told Narayan, why can't you go and, help him, he's in a poor situation and look how nicely he's chanting. And Narayan says, no point, my devotees, they don't want anything but me. No, but at least, then Narayan said, why are you nagging? You go and give whatever you want. He said, okay, then I'll give. So Lakshmi Devi goes in the middle of the night, this devotee is chanting and Lakshmi Devi appears. He's so happy to see it. Then Lakshmi Devi says, yes, I've come here to bless you. Please ask me what you want. So now he's like, but what I want, what should I ask? He was confused. Then Lakshmi Devi says, nothing to worry. I'll come back tomorrow at the same time. You just make your list ready. He said, okay. Now after Lakshmi Devi left, he could not sleep because he has to make the list. Lakshmi Devi is going to come tomorrow. So he took a paper, he took a pen and he started writing, okay, I want this, I want this, I want this. He made the list. Next day, whole morning he was very busy. Anybody talking to him, no, don't disturb, I'm making a list. And in that, Mala chanting, no, now I cannot chant, first I have to make the list, Till the midnight, he was all ready. Then Lakshmi Devi came, the midnight, okay, are you ready with the list? He said, even before you came into my life, my mala bag is gone, my peace is gone, better you stay where you are, I don't need you. Even before you entered my life, my 16 downs gone for the day, everything is gone to the God. I think you better stay with Narayan, I'm happy with my chanting. Right? So satisfied. Krishna says he likes that devotee who is satisfied. In fact, there is this pastime of Rukmini Devi's marriage in Bhagavatam, and where Rukmini Devi sends this Brahman, right, to meet Krishna with her love letter. And one of the first things that Krishna asked the Brahmana, are you satisfied? Are you satisfied, he says. So important. Now Krishna expects that from a devotee, that we are satisfied. The fact that if we are not satisfied, that means we don't love Krishna enough. Don't we think Krishna is our well-wisher and he has put us in whatever we deserve to be put in, whatever situation we deserve to be put in. And if we don't deserve that situation, then definitely Krishna would have changed it. The fact that he didn't change it, that means he wants us to be like that, right? So yeah, Krishna has a plan. And if we are not satisfied, that means we are insulting Krishna's plan. Because we feel we know better than Krishna. Not like this, I think Krishna should have given me a better husband, a better this, a better that. I mean, so many things, right? Yeah, so Krishna has his own plan. Krishna has his own plan. Just have faith in him, right? So whether we want better partners, or my husband was a devotee, I wish my wife was a devotee. Like Krishna knows. If your husband was a devotee, probably you would have become very complacent. The fact that he's not a devotee is pushing you. Oh no, I need to become more serious, right? So sometimes it's the other way around, you know. Sometimes, like I was telling you yesterday, sometimes obstacles come between you and Krishna. Sometimes obstacles are the way to Krishna. They are the way to Krishna. They take you closer to Krishna. You never know what's Krishna's plan, right? So don't worry, whatever Krishna is doing is for your good. I was giving this class, I think, one time about this grihasthas, you know. And I was telling them that anyway the life is temporary and anyway, you know, things keep changing. And whatever the partner you have, it's not a permanent, you know. And then Prabhuji, he raised his hand. He said, Mataji, I'm always worried that, you know, one line in the scriptures. I said, what is that? He said that you get the same wife for 7 births. Is it true? And I said, no. And he was so relieved, you know. He said, you made me happy, made my day. You know, it's not 7 lifetimes, it's just this lifetime. Now things will be more easy for me to tolerate her because it's temporary, you know. Anyway, so yeah. So the stomach of our desire is so big, you know. I'll tell you one last story and close it here. You know Mulla Nasruddin, he's one of my favorite characters in Tinkle. In the childhood I used to read that comic book Tinkle, and he makes funny jokes. So Mulla Nasruddin was becoming very fat. So he went to a dietitian. What should I do to reduce weight? So the dietitian said, well, you are a very rich man. You have golf grounds in your house. Why can't you play golf and your weight will come down? So after 1 month, he again came back. So nothing has changed. He said, did you play golf? I could not play. Why? Then he said that even for me to play golf, I should be able to see the ball. But my stomach is so big, I can't even see the ball down. That's why I couldn't play. When I was just, I was reflecting and remembering that story, I read that the stomach of our desires is also like that, so big. We can't see what we have, and what we can see, we can't have. And what we can see, we can't have. And what we have, we can't see. And whole life is going on. I have this, but I can't see it. And what the others have, I want it, but I can't have it. I can see it. But that is why you see Prabhupada made a very good rule, is that this Sunday feast in ISKCON, every plate has the same thing. Otherwise, you'll always look in some other person's plate. Even though we all have the same item, almost all the time we feel that the gulab jamun in her plate is bigger than my plate. Always feel that. She had a better this, she has a better children, she has a better skin, she has a better husband, always we have that. The grass is always greener on the other side. But you don't know. Everybody has their own flavor of problems. Don't think this person is more happier or that person is more happier. Maybe the flavor of her ice cream is different. You have strawberry and she has vanilla, but she has her own set of problems and you have your own set of problems. That's what I like in America is that they have this, I need to close this, otherwise I'll be tempted to speak some more. In America they have this system of, people who are in trouble, they have clubs, and they gather together and they talk about their problems. And they're all unknown people, strangers, so you're not worried that they'll go and tell your mother-in-law what you spoke about her. So, and they just share their problems. And then at the end of the session, they're asked, would you like to change your problem with her problem? Do you want to swap it? Like, no, I think I'm okay. Her problem, it happens. So why we think and my problem is better? Because we don't know. There is so many problems in other people's life, And I mean, because I do this counseling for many years now, and I get at least 30 to 40 emails every single day. And I tell you, hearing people's problems. So many problems, everybody has something or the other, Only thing we have that feeling, this person is happy or that person is happy. Dukkalayam ashashvatam. That's what Krishna said. This world is temporary and misery is right. So anyway, this big whole world of so many problems, Prabhupada has created this beautiful spiritual world for us in the middle of this material world. And let's not create a material world in between this spiritual world that Prabhupada has provided, and try and get all these good qualities and try and become favorite of Lord Shri Krishna. So we completed many of the qualities: Adveshta, Sarvabhutana, Maitra, Karunaivacha, Nirmama, Nirahankara, Sama, Dukkha, Sukha, Shami, Santushta. So we stop there. I think I have one more class tomorrow, and they gave me a verse for that class. Either I can take that class, or if you devotees want me to complete this, maybe the next class which I have tomorrow sometime, we can continue this part too. I'll leave it up to you and the organizers. If you feel this is an interesting topic, we can continue this part too, and then I can conclude with all the 36 qualities. With this I'll end here. Thank you so much, dear devotees. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Krishna.
Jai.